Let's go over some Spurs news and notes and then discuss about, we're going to be discussing about the lottery results. Spurs get number 4 and 8. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs and the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's Five San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Happy Monday, everybody. Let's start your work week right here on Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. What are we talking about today? Quickly, we're going to go over some Spurs news and notes just real briefly. Then bring in our guest, James Pledger, San Antonio Spurs Star's very own. We're going to be discussing about last night's lottery results. Yes, your Spurs get picks number 4 and 8. What does this mean? What the Spurs should do? Who should be on their radar with the draft just a few weeks away? But first, some Spurs news and notes. Well, the Wemby effect is definitely strong, not just on the court, but off the court, and especially with his basketball cards. Yes, everybody's scooping them up as best they can, as fast they can. And speaking of speed, that's exactly what happened to Topps. Yeah, Wemby's Topps Rookie of the Year card, basically just a card celebrating his Rookie of the Year award. They set a record print run. They sold over 113,000 copies in just a few hours. Now, specifically, 777,000. Yes, 1,000 copies in just 3 days, 72 hours. It went out that fast. So basically, just him holding the ball, he's kind of screaming in the air, and it says 2023 Rookie of the Year. And then the French colors are behind him, and he's in a Spurs uniform. Well, they're blocking it. But the point is, yeah, Wemby cards are a thing. You know, everybody's buying them right now. It's not just that. His NFTs. Did you hear about his NFT going off for like $145,000? Crazy. And then you got the Funko Pop of Wemby coming soon. And that's going to be scooped up. Bobbleheads are getting basically from jerseys to greeting cards. Everybody's loving Wemby. And yeah, and there's proof right there. You know, his basketball card just selling out quick. Did you hear about that women's jersey? I think it was like a non-autographed, just not even a game-worn autograph, and he sold for $3,000 at auction. Yeah, it's crazy. So the Wemby effect is definitely hitting not just the hardwood, but just as well the collectible world. Speaking of Wemby and other Spurs news, Wemby was given his Rookie of the Year award in person in San Antonio at San Antonio College Planetarium. So you see what they did there? Alien, space, planetarium. So yeah, they gave him the award at the planetarium. He was surrounded by family, friends, kids that were studying space and whatnot. Interesting point, though, was during the conference with media, he did say that he still wants to win right now. Of course, that's setting off Spurs fans and what they're thinking about what that means right now. But yeah, congratulations to Victor getting that Rookie of the Year award in San Antonio very appropriately. You know, kind of cool thing he did is how people teams make tribute videos to players. You know, it's DeMar DeRozan back in San Antonio, tribute video. Well, the Spurs did a video, kind of a montage of Wemby in action in his rookie year. But he turned the tables. He made a video thanking Spurs fans, his trainers, coaching staff, teammates, City of San Antonio. He did one for that, so he gave love right back. That was pretty cool what he did. But if you want to go check out that video and more, you want to go to kensfi.com/Spurs right now. And that's about it. Those are your quick Spurs news and notes. When we get back, we're going to bring in on our guest, James Pledger, San Antonio Sports Star. We're going to be discussing the results of this weekend's draft lottery, number 4, number 8. What does that mean for your silver and black? That's next right here on Locked On Spurs. But first, I want to talk to you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. The easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. You can get on the action right now to watch your favorite teams, sports, players, whatever it is. PrizePicks has your back. You pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats, and you can start watching those winnings roll in. Hey, look, you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You could basically turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, whatever it is. Entries today on PrizePicks, America's #1 sports app. You want to go there right now. Also, look, it's the best way to get on the action with more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. It's real simple to use. You can make your pick. You can submit them in just less than 60 seconds. And PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay for easy deposit into your bank account this season. And what about weekly promotions? They got that, special offers as well. Biggest moments in sports, all at PrizePicks. Look, I got it. You should get it too. You want to go and download the PrizePick app right now. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA. Get yourself a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Hey, I want to talk about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. If you're in San Antonio, go there right now. They're at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. They got lattes. You got cold brews. You got your basic coffee, such as their signature coffee drink, the Mudslinger. They got mini donuts. They got dairy alternatives. They got it all only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Go there right now. Great staff, proud local sponsor, Locked On Spurs, a proud community member of San Antonio, serving San Antonio the best drinks in the city. Hey, speaking of drinks, they have a lightning bolt series that includes the Alien. I think you can figure out who that's about, with Victor Wembanyama. Basically, it's a line of drinks that supercharges your day. Now, they usually were made with Red Bull. Now, that's going to be more of an option now. So not automatically going to go to Red Bull. It's going to be used now with Lotus Energy. 7 power plant extracts built right into that drink. It allows them, Mudslingers, some flexibility to create new drinks. And you get the same effects as caffeine, but with 7 power plant extracts. So that's going to be the default now. But if you want Red Bull in your drink, you can still ask for that. Like, they'll power you through your day right now. Go get it. San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Follow them on social media at Mudslinger SATX. Go there right now. I highly encourage you, because life is too short for bland coffee.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And as we promised last week, look who is back to join us here on Locked On Spurs to recap the pretty good NBA draft lottery. San Antonio Spurs, pleasure of San Antonio Spurs. He's on X at I Am Pleasure, host of Extra Innings. Speaking of extra, the Spurs got themselves an extra pick. Pleasure, not a bad draft lottery result for your Silver and Black, huh?
The real question is, what have we heard about this draft class the entire time? It's a bad draft class. Yeah. It's one of the worst we've seen since Anthony Bennett was taken number 1 overall, right? So is it good to have multiple picks in a bad draft, or is it better for that pick to convey next year in a stacked class?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That was kind of my watch right now. Would that have been the better of the worst case scenarios? For the worst case scenario for the Spurs was Toronto pick not convey and just delayed. It seemed to me that was perhaps the best route.
Absolutely, especially in a year where you're going to get Atlanta's picks unprotected as well. And that would have been the year for Atlanta to get the number 1 pick. I mean, if you're talking about worst case scenarios, this might have been it, because the odds of Atlanta going back-to-back number 1 overall pick and jumping up that high to get it, very slim to none, right? The getting 2 picks very high in a bad class, not great, especially when you talk about how much cap space you could eat up if you have both, right? And if you stick and pick. There's just, I don't know what the actual value to these picks is if you're going to move them on top of that, when most people don't believe this is a great class. Now, future picks from here, or for next year and on, those picks are extremely valuable. It's just, I don't know what the perceived value of these in a trade would quite be. So I look at this draft lottery, and 4 and 8 surface level looks great. You dig deep in, which I don't know how great it truly is for the Spurs, because we both know the odds of getting the number 1 pick in consecutive years. It's not great. So there wasn't high hopes for the Spurs to do that. And that being said, now you don't expect Atlanta's pick to be able to jump that much next year. And The only good news that could potentially come out of this is the fact that Atlanta has the number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going to blow up that backcourt, it's a pretty good starting point to do it, is knowing you have the number 1 overall pick. I mean, that's the only good that I could potentially see coming out of this. But then again, most people are 50-50 on whether they want Trey Jones or not anyway, or DeJounte Murray. So, I mean, it's very underwhelming of a draft. I know everybody seems very excited about it. To me, I am slightly underwhelmed by it.
You know, it could be a scenario where past bad draft pools always turn out late first round, second round talent. You know, that Bennett draft, there was a guy named Giannis was in that draft, and he was early teens, I believe. So
15, I believe.
15, thank you so much. But as far as the Spurs, look, number 4, number 8, this was, I guess, the second best worst case scenario was them getting 2 first-round picks. The Toronto convey. If anything, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's just more leverage deal. You know, hey, you know, look, I feel like a broken record. You would think that they would not keep number 4 and 8. They're going to move that, but we've seen in past drafts where we think the Spurs are going to move away from picks. They end up keeping them and drafting them. What do you think the Spurs should do now at 4 and 8?
I've already been asked about this since it happened, believe it or not, as like likelihood they pick both.
Yeah.
And my answer is I could see both scenarios playing out. I could see them leveraging both of those picks to move and get a player. I could see them using both of those picks. And I could also see them possibly moving off one and throwing in more to get a singular player, just not a big name player. Like all options are on the table. And to be honest, I could see the Spurs using any single one of those options.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about the draft lottery. The draft pool itself. It is weak. You go for 1 week, it's star at number 1. Just wait a couple hours and it'll be, Ricochet at number 1. I mean, it's like so all over the place. Right after the draft lottery was announced,
Klingham's going 1 now.
They got Klingham going 1 now. I mean, when did this happen? So, you know,
it pays to play good in the tournament.
Yeah. If anything, the shuffling of people going 1 and 2 and could work to the Spurs' benefit if there is a player that they want to take fall on their laps at 4, fall out of 3. I mean, that's a good spot. I mean, the Spurs are in a good position, I think, now to get a better quality player. I'm not saying a star player, but just a better overall quality player than they would if they didn't get Toronto State at 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, and especially in the NBA draft, more so than any, pick the best player over position 100 out of 100 times. If you've got a point guard, I don't care. Go get another point guard if he's the best player that you have evaluated, because you can move an asset like that. Trying to fill a position usually pigeonholes you into bad decisions. Like, you know, look at the Sacramento Kings. They had Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox. They ended up moving one of them to Indiana because they had Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis. So they each fixed each other's needs with the excess of players that they have, because they have multiple all-stars at the same position. And so they did a solid to each other, and it worked for both squads. It worked for both of them. Like, should the Spurs have never have drafted Tim Duncan because they already had David Robinson?
No.
I mean, it's insanity to draft for position over best player in the NBA, because players dictate so much. Like, star players dictate the lead, and you kind of figure everything else out along the way. And remember, that's what they did with Wemby. They had no clue at first. Is he going to be a 3? Is he going to be a 4? He settled into the 5 and dominated about halfway through the year. So it's take who you think the best player is and figure it out from there. That's why you have a general manager. He can move pieces and parts. I don't care if Alexander Sarr is your best player and you've got Wemby, go get Alexander Sarr and figure it out.
Yeah. 2 top 10 picks, 4 number 8 for the Spurs. They can do some movements if they want to do that with that. But ultimately, James, what does your gut tell you? You think the Spurs will flip or they'll just draft accordingly?
This is going to change 15 times and back between now and when they actually draft.
Yeah.
But in this moment that I am sitting here right now talking to you, see, I've already changed it in my head.
Yeah.
I want to say that they're going to stick and pick with both of these. But these Trae Young rumors are really, really loud. Him switching to CAA last week, and the fact, did you catch the interview with Andrew Lopez on the Hoops Collective podcast?
No, tell me about it.
Okay, so Andrew Lopez joined the Hoop Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst and Tim Bontemps, and they were asking him about Wemby and his rookie year and all this stuff. And in that interview, as he's kind of laying out the future and what they could do, what they should do, how many picks they may end up having, Andrew didn't provide a ton of depth, but he gave some. But the thing that kind of just alerted my ears was he was talking about potential movement and acquiring a player, and he could see them going for a big player. He could see him going for a smaller player. Like the world is their oyster this offseason. Basically everything we've been saying. It kind of feels like they can go any single direction they want to go. And just during his answer off the top rope, Windhorst comes in and goes, Trae Young switched agents. Like he is, and Brian Windhorst, he's locked in. He is plugged into the NBA. So I don't necessarily, I know he spent time here and he probably picked up some tidbits.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's coming necessarily from the Spurs. But I think Trae Young is really trying to get himself to San Antonio. He had an Instagram post the other day before his announcement of moving to CAA, which is why, just Andrew bringing that stuff up and then Windhorst just chiming in. Oh, by the way, Trae Jones switched agents recently, left Clutch, and he signed with CAA. It's 90% of the times when NBA players switch agents, it's with a purpose. Right?
Yeah.
They're doing it for a reason. They're trying to move themselves into a certain situation.
Yeah.
And so there's so much smoke with this Trae Young thing. And then I broke down on Extra Innings last week a photo. He posted a picture and it was just a silver and a black heart in the caption. That's all it was. That's all he posted. It was him wearing Spurs colors gear, and he was at, I think, his camp or something he was doing this off season. It was an appreciation post, but it felt like more. He's wearing silver and black in this post. He is hearted it with silver and black hearts, in the caption. There's so much smoke to this Trae Young thing. I think Trae is trying to get himself to San Antonio because he's openly talked about wanting to play with Victor Wembanyama in a really, really longing way almost.
Yeah, well, he's definitely making the universe know about it. I'm wearing silver and black colors, got a little black and silver heart. He's letting the universe know. But,
and we pay attention to this stuff now because it's truly a tell at times of players and their want or desire to either be at a place or away from a place. So we've started paying attention to athletes' social medias because of this.
Well, going back to number 4, number 8 draft, the NBA draft now, when that gets around. I know you said position just go with best player available, and I get that. But you got to think shooters got to be at the high end of the Spurs wish list, right?
No. Well, yeah. I mean, shooters are on their wish list, but I'm not drafting Reed Shepherd at 4 unless I think he's a dude, right? I'm not pigeonholing myself into taking a shooter because he's a shooter. That's what free agency's for. The NBA draft and the way you approach the offseason in particular is so 100%, 180, if you will, different from how the NFL approaches things. Like I really need a center. I'm gonna go get one, in the second round, or I might reach a little early in the first if he's kind of a borderline grade like that. It's okay. You can build through the draft that way. You need 53 bodies on a roster, and you need 22 at certain positions across the court. In the NBA, we talked about a lot. It's becoming positionless to an extent. Well, I mean, look, you got in Phoenix, you've got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, and they're just figuring out the rest after that. Like, you go get stars and you figure it out. That is the best way to go about it. You figure out how to fill holes on your roster in free agency.
And then like guys like
the best player in the draft.
There is you need shooters. Believe it or not, the free agency crop does have some this year. A guy Luke Kennard. There's your answer right there. He can definitely solve the Spurs shooting touch. 4 and 8. Again, pretty good picks. An otherwise watered down draft, but nevertheless, the Spurs can do damage with that. Whether that's
I don't think they pick it both anymore.
Well,
I'm changing my answer.
You did it in real time here. Now, I think they move one of them. I think they move one. I think they keep one and move one. I think that's what they end up doing.
Who's the guy you think they cut?
God, it's such a weak draft here. I could see them just going for Dillingham if he's available.
I also think it's a point guard, but I don't think it's Dillingham.
You think it's Topic?
I think it's Nikola Topic. That's the guy that I think that they covet.
Well, if it's Ricochet, he's still on the board for some freaking reason. They better take him.
Sure.
If he's on that board, they've been scouting him big time. That's the one guy you're seeing the Spurs staff out there watching. But I wouldn't be surprised if they try to move up and try to get Ricochet. Hey, one who wants him, got 4 and 8. We'll throw in a second round pick this year. We'll give you 3 picks, 1 or 2.
I mean, I could see them using them to try and move their way up a spot or two. I could also see them. Yeah, that's actually probably the most efficient use of their draft capital right now that they have, is that there's one player in particular finding a way to move up 1 or 2 spots potentially to go get the guy that they truly covet. That's probably the best use of their resources.
I think so. We're here with James Pledger of San Antonio Spurs, Star, host of Extra Inning. Back to yesterday's news of the Spurs getting number 4 in the draft lottery spot. But hey, what are you guys talking about? We're going to get some fan reaction to Spurs and lottery results when we get right back. Hey, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. You got to get FanDuel right now, everybody. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, listen up. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. You heard that right. $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's it. That's $150. Let me underline that for you guys. You can bet on spreads, money lines, player props. Pick something. FanDuel has you covered. Look, it is an awesome app, easy to use, very user-friendly, easy to navigate, almost intuitive. You can have fun watching the NBA playoffs. Sure, the Spurs are not in it, but yet you can still get in on the action over with FanDuel. And speaking of FanDuel, you want to visit it right now, FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. So make every playoff shot count Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn right now. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with James Pledger, San Antonio Sports Star's very own host of Extra Innings. And he's always going to be pick #1 in my book. You always get #1 pick from me, James.
I appreciate that.
Well, needless to say, Spurs fans have a lot to say about the Spurs landing at #4 and #8 now. You guys left a bunch of comments, right? So you can only pick about 2 of them. So, and away we go. Let's check out what Spurs fans are talking about. And the first one comes from IKANTFOKES. That's his name on X. It goes by Jen. He says, Topic and Montes are calling it. So he thinks the Spurs will stick with their picks and draft the top pick and Busilas Montes out of the G League Ignite.
Yep.
Picks.
I mean, I said it before we went to break. I feel Topic feels like their guy. I don't know why. I have this feeling that he is a Spur. Like, he is one of the ones that they cover. As far as Montes, sure, stick and pick, but just know when you stick and pick, you're not going to be able to do anything in free agency.
Yeah.
That's going to eat up the majority of your cap space if you have 2 very high lottery picks on your roster.
Yeah, and also too, the Spurs do keep their 2 picks. That's the team getting just younger. I mean, very young.
So are we going to use that same excuse if they're bad next year?
I think they will. Yes, I think they would. If the play is 2025, remember that's the magical year, James. Everything comes together. 2025.
All right, Cooper Flag and Victor Wembanyama. Let's do it.
And hey, let's do it. Tank away, everybody. But Topic, man, dynamic player, but can he stay healthy? Can he play a lick of defense?
I mean, here's the thing. What we look at with Luka Doncic, right? He's an offensive guy. Does he even play defense? Does he care? Most people would still take Luka Doncic 10 out of 10 times. Trae Young, there's a lot of people that don't want him in San Antonio because he doesn't play defense. But you know what he does do? He shoots the ball extremely well, and he spaces the floor, and he is a point guard with handle and the ability to pass, which was lacking on this team this year for most of the year. He addresses needs. Like, it's going to be very hard. I don't care who you're going to get. It's going to be hard to find somebody that checks every single box that you're looking for. Yeah. So if you can check 2 or 3 of them, you got a point guard, you got a shooter, and you got a guy that can distribute the basketball at an extremely high level without turning it over. Yeah. Check. Okay, so he doesn't play very good defense. Yeah. We can figure that out. You've got an eraser behind him, right? That's what I would assume as far as Montes. Like I said, if you plan on using both of these picks and they're the Spurs, say goodbye to any free agency dreams that you had in playing. I mean, they're just going to go away just simply because of the amount of money you invest in this team. And a lot of Spurs fans would like to see them be active in free agency, knowing that they have a player that a bunch of people would love to play with.
It's interesting to see what the Spurs will do with 4 and 8. I still think they may deal one and try to move up, or either they'll deal one or try to move up a couple of spots in the NBA draft. But we appreciate that comment from Jen. All right, let's move to our next comment. Next one is from Zach Escamilla. He says, So picks 4 and 8. Are the Spurs going to be bleed? Can't read that. And pick players with both, or will they do the right thing and trade them for a stud? So Zach is saying, package it up, move it out, and bring in an established stud. What do you think?
Who's the stud?
Exactly.
It all depends. Everybody has a different definition of what a stud is. Yeah. Half the people want Paul George, the other half don't. And if you bring in a Paul George, you're bringing in a dude that's dealt with injury through a lot of his career, not as much as Kawhi Leonard, his teammate, but definitely has dealt with injury and when he's on the floor or not. And you're also dealing with a guy that is getting up there in age. And so those are questions when you're talking about dealing for a stud, like whether it's him or Kevin Durant or whoever you may hypothetically be throwing out into the ether. Right. And a lot of teams aren't looking to move their stars unless their stars force their hand. Nobody's actively like, man, I've got a top 15 NBA player. I can't wait to move this guy. That's not how it works. You're on look for those guys, and multiple of those guys, they're not necessarily looking to move on from them unless the player themselves is trying to get his way out of town. And a lot of the times they're finagling their way to exactly where they want to be anyway.
Yeah. If answer that question, like who is that stud? Would you consider DeJounte Murray a stud? For the Spurs to bring back. Personally, of the two, I wouldn't mind having DeJounte back over Trey. I think
Is it because, and I want to ask you because you're a Spurs fan as well, on top of everything, with the DeJounte over Trey thing, is it because of his defense, or is it in the back of your mind, like, I know this, like, at least I know this guy. Yeah. He's a Spur. He's been here. He understands the culture and whatnot. Like, is it the safe option because you know him?
Not necessarily a safe option. It's more of the perimeter defense. It's more, he has a dog in him, and I like that about it. He has some dog in him. We've seen him in San Antonio Spurs. Literally push back at players.
Would he shoot from 3 this year?
I don't know. I can look that up. He developed a very good mid-range game, but his 3 shot is still a little off.
Hey, can we go get DeMar DeRozan then? I mean, he's got a really good mid-range too.
Yeah, but I mean, DeJounte's a lot younger. So I'll go that route. Let's pull up DeJounte's numbers here. So last year, DeJounte 22.5 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 6.4 assists. 46% shooting from the field. We get 3 shots.
Under 50 from the field. Okay.
Yep. And a 3 shot, 36%.
Okay, that's not too terribly bad.
No, it's not too terrible. But and also he's not old, he's not young. He's like right there. Would you say maybe he's entering his 5 years already, perhaps? So
maybe.
And yes, there is a little bit of the familiarity, not necessarily as a fan, but more like, okay, at least he knows what Pop wants. At least he's been there, done that,
But he also kind of threw some shots on his way out the door as well.
He did. But I think Winnie will cure all. So Winnie will be fine. But no, I mean, hey, everybody, great questions. I wish we could get them all, but we can't. But overall, James, what would your grade be at the Spurs in the draft lottery? I said, to me, you're kind of lukewarm on it. I'm going to guess you're going to pick a B.
B minus C. I mean, having 2 lottery picks is nice, but there's obviously downfalls to having 2 lottery picks. We've talked about that with the salary cap holds on having them, and just the perception of what this draft class is. I mean, it's not the year. Luckily, next year, I think they can have as many as, I guess they could have had as many as 5. Now they could have up to 4 with theirs, Chicago's, Atlanta's, and
I forgot who the other one is.
I'm missing one, but I think they can have up to 4 first-round picks in next year's draft, which, I mean, that is a pretty good amount. But then again, up to 4 picks in next year's first round, salary cap space. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. The Spurs are positioned well right now, but depends. Hopefully they don't mess it up in 2025. That's what I don't think. I think there really are in 2025. The draft, the picks, free agents available. That just sounds a lot easier to do, to rebuild faster and get out of it. But we'll see. We'll see. He is James Pleasure.
This is going to be a very, very fun offseason for the Spurs. In terms of last year, it was awesome because Wemby was the prize, and the second the draft lottery conveyed, we were all just kind of riding a high the rest of the way into the season, right?
Yeah.
It was awesome. This is the most intriguing offseason that the Spurs have gone into in recent memory in terms of nobody really knows. None of us know what they're going to do. And they have so many options and different directions that they can go. It truly is intriguing.
It is. And we'll keep you covered throughout every step of the way, whether it's here Locked On Spurs or on San Antonio Sports Star. Extra Innings with James Pleasure. Tell us about the star, buddy. We need to know.
Oh, well, if you haven't heard, we've got a new morning show. Rob Thompson, The Morning Huddle. He is now joined by AJ Hoffman, a brilliant, quick-witted mind that he came originally from Houston and was on the ESPN affiliate there, and then went to go do stuff in Las Vegas. I heard you talking about FanDuel earlier. Very knowledgeable when it comes to Vegas lines, and it shows during the show when they do the daily lines on the Morning Huddle. His knowledge of sports betting is one of the highest that I've been around, in terms of what he looks for in different games and how whether it's hockey or baseball or sports that I don't even consider wagering on, but he knows the trends to look for. Very brilliant. So the Morning Huddle, AJ Hoffman, Rob Thompson, brand new show, incredibly fun in the morning and great way to start your day. Of course, the Blitz with Jason and Joe, which I produce, and then Extra Innings Pleasure.
That's the one. Everybody check out James's show, Extra Innings. Do that right now on San Antonio Spurs YouTube page, Twitter. They got you covered in every social media platform. You cannot miss it. Again, check out James Pleasure, Extra Innings. Ooh, I think you're every day, right? Monday through Friday.
Yep, Monday through Friday.
Okay. Yeah, Monday through Friday on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1. So go check that out. Hey, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. We'll be back tomorrow with more Spurs. Likely more about the draft lottery. Maybe look at some more draft prospects and so much more. But we thank you, as always, for making Locked On Spurs your first stop every single day. For James Pleasure, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.